And what an astonishing morning's cricket we have witnessed. The best laid plans go awry occasionally, don't they? But mercifully during the interval and not during the cricket. England 132 for 1. Trescothick, who's been in the most astonishing form, is 77 not out. Michael Vaughan, who came in when the score was 112, when Strauss was bowled by Vaughan for 48. Michael Vaughan has got a single. And indeed it's going to be Vaughan who is going to face Gillespie, who's coming on at the City end to bowl the first over after lunch. It's an important moment. It's a critical moment. Vaughan has not been in the runs. He spent 2 or 3 days in conclave with Duncan Fletcher, the England coach, up in Leeds, and let's hope this has done what needs to be done. I've been joined by Michael Selby. What do you think the problem has been with Vaughan?
I mean, he's getting bowled out too much, isn't he? I'm not being simplistic there, but a good player shouldn't get bowled.
His stump shouldn't be hit so much. No.
I think he's comes across the line a little bit. Been a lot of expectation on him. Maybe that's weighed in his mind. He said he went to Duncan Fletcher more for what he called an MOT, a little bit of reassurance that things were okay, rather than trying to find something that wasn't okay. Now, whether that's a little bit of denial, I don't know, but he went away and he got, by all accounts, it was a very good 100 in the one-day game. Now, people say, well, prepare for Test cricket with a one-day game. I actually think it's not a bad idea just to feel the ball on the bat and to feel it racing away. So with Trescothick playing in the 2020 game.
Runs in the middle, there's no substitute for them. Gillespie bowls the first ball after lunch, wide of the off stump, no stroke from Vaughan, and Gilchrist swoops it up low near first slip's left boot. The score stays on 132 for 1. Yes, the extraordinary thing about Vaughan was, the Australians will remember him from when he went to Australia 3 years ago, hit those 300s, and he's never really found that form again, has he?
It may just be, of course, that that was the exception rather than the rule.
Of course. And it's beginning to look that way a bit. 2 steps to Gully and a short cover as Gillespie's in again, bowls to Vaughan outside the off stump. Vaughan very politely leaves it alone, say I'll have nothing to do with that one, thank you very much, and again it is taken by Gillespie. But of course form is a funny old will-o'-the-wisp, isn't it? And today England have had things go their way. McGrath standing on that ball, Strauss being dropped by Vaughan low at first slip, Trescothick giving a catch to the gully off a no ball, and one just feels that the psychological thing has changed, and let's, from England's point of view, hope it's changed for Vaughan, not from the Australian point of view, I hardly need add. And here is Gillespie, that was nearer the off stump, but still no need for a stroke from Vaughan, who came forward and let that go through, and it's a good chance for me to say good evening, or good night, or good early morning to those of you listening in Australia. And I hope you've got your glasses splendidly charged, because listening as late as this, I think you need a little bit of sustenance, especially when, in your view, the unlikely circumstances have arisen that England, having been put into bat, are 132 for 1. But strange things do happen in the cricket field, and that is, of course, what makes it such a great game. And if that isn't not platitude, I don't know what is. Here comes Gilchrist again. In, past umpire Bowden, up to the wicket, bowls to Vaughan, wide of the off stump, going further away, and again no stroke from the England captain, and Gilchrist goes across in front of slip and takes. To give you the full field, we got 3 slips to gully, a short cover, mid-off, mid-on, a square leg, and a fine leg down underneath the balcony to our left, out of sight from us. It's a lovely day, the clouds have pulled away, we've got lots of blue sky this afternoon and bright sunshine, absolutely full house here at Edgbaston, which is looking perfect. A few gaps in the crowd, in fact, because the hospitality suites at the far end of the ground are doing their business, but people will be back eventually. And here is Gillespie in, bowls to Vaughan outside the off stump. History repeats itself for the 5th time this over, and Gilchrist goes across and takes. It is extraordinary, isn't it, how a bowler who's bowled quite well this morning, quite well at the start, suddenly comes out after lunch and just cannot find quite the right place to bowl.
I think we might see a little bit of that, that it's so what we call attritional bowling this afternoon, though, actually bowling it out there.
Come and get me if you dare.
That's right, yes.
Right. Well, Gilchrist is not really giving Vaughan the slightest piece of temptation at the moment. He's been well wide of the stumps. Let's see what happens now. Here he is coming in. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls and Vaughan comes forward, plays that beautifully away through mid-wicket, and that's going to be the first of the afternoon's boundary, I think. Or will that be pulled up? No, it's not. It's been pulled up by Cat. It's just short of the boundary. And he didn't have quite the timing on it. I thought he did when it left the bat. But Vaughan has got 3. He'll be well pleased with that. He goes to 4. It's now 135 for 1. We've had a power strike here. It looks as though the scoreboard on the far side of the grounds also had a power strike, because the score is remaining on 1-3-2 for 1 and Vaughan on 1 when he should have gone to 4. So that's going to be that's going to add to make it a little bit more interesting for us this afternoon.
Oh, well, that is interesting. That's electrically operated. And of course the other scoreboard is a digital scoreboard.
They've lost the screen as well.
They lost the screen, so nobody will know what's going on, will they? Well,
they won't.
Perhaps we'll have to shout out the window at them. Or of course those people in the crowd who are listening can relay the score on, Henry.
So, Bill, we've appointed you as honorary scoreboard for the moment.
Better find the Flintometer again.
The Flintometer, yes, the emphasis on what I said was on the word honorary, of course. And it's going to be Kasparovich who's going to bowl the second over of the afternoon from the pavilion end. With a dead scoreboard, a dead big screen. There's been a big electricity cut all the way around here. The public address system goes on. I dare say they've got their own generator. And Kasparovich walks a couple of strides, and here he is, prancing in, up to the wicket, bowls to Vaughan, outside the off-stump. Vaughan comes forward, plays no stroke, and then does a little bit of a dance, a la Robin Smith, in the crease at the other end, just to loosen his muscles and perhaps maintain a bit of concentration. There's a gentleman over there at deep backward square leg, in fawn trousers and a dark sort of jerkin, who's walking rather briskly about. I don't think he's about to put the plug in and produce power, but he's walking like a man on a mission. He disappears through a gate just about now. Here's Kasparovich in, bowls to Vaughan. Vaughan's forward, a nice-looking stroke. Kasparovich himself fields, and our gentleman with the fawn trousers has gone through the gate. Oh no, he's not on a mission. Once he gets through it, he stands with his hands on the bars of the gate and watches the cricket. How disappointing. I thought he's going to do something.
Of course, if this is still not working in half an hour's time, somebody will come back from their corporate lunch, haven't been watching. They'll say, they've got their shell out of an exhilarating morning. They're blocking it.
Very good. Here comes Kasparovich again. Vaughan is forward, pushing that easily through the covers, and there's going to be one. Langer's after it. They come back the second, and in fact, it was Clark was after that, Michael Clark, the left-handed throw, and they've collected 2 runs. So Vaughan goes now to 6, I would think, and the score to 137 for 1.
Yes, absolutely right.
Is that right, Bill? McGrath, we got to note, no obvious damage. He's torn a lateral ligament. That is the only damage, and he's currently on crutches, which seems to me to be fairly severe. And the treatment he's having is lots of ice.
It doesn't really give us a prognosis there, does it?
No.
One would assume that with back-to-back test matches that Old Trafford is probably out of the equation.
And Kasparovich starts in again, bowling now to Vaughan. He's there, he bowls, Vaughan goes back, pushes into cover, thinks of a single, but Clark is there very quickly, shies at the stump, and it's gone for buzzers, 4 buzzers, and overthrows always bring gratification to the crowd. Clark shied at the stumps, and away it went for 4 overthrows. So that makes Vaughan go along, I think, to double figures, 10, doesn't it? The score to 141 for 1. I can't go on doing this out of my head forever. So Bill keeps giving me the thumbs up sign, which is very remarkable.
You crack on here, you do a grand job there. That was a particularly poor piece of cricket. It was an unnecessary throw at the stumps, and the bowler reflected that. He didn't half give him a glare.
Kasparovich in now, bowls to Vaughan. Vaughan comes forward and pushes it through the covers. Pushes it, he drives it beautifully. That's 4 runs. Now that is the Vaughan of old. That was the most lovely stroke. And there's been a confidence about Vaughan in these first 2 overs, hasn't there? That really has been eye-catching. He goes to 14, the total to 145 for 1. And England are continuing with the excitement they produced this morning. We've now got another fielder coming across into the covers from mid-wicket, and the deep square leg has come up to save the single at square leg. So packing the offside field. As Kasparovich is in again to Vaughan, he bowls, and Vaughan just defends, no ball called, and it goes out into the covers, and Ponting is the man there who fields, and the score goes on to 146 for 1.
Well done.
It is. I'm still managing to keep up with it.
There's a lot to be said, isn't there, for tin numbers hanging on a nail, you know.
Well, I do know, because it is indeed a good old tallywag time. Wasn't that what they called it? I think it wasn't. I was at school. It was the Tallywag. Here's Kasparov in, bowls to Vaughan. Vaughan on the back foot, forces down to mid-off, and there is no run there. So it's 146 for 1.
No, it's 147.
147 for 1. I got
Two
it.
no balls.
2 no balls. I got it wrong at last. 147 for 1. 77 to Skothic, 14 to Vaughan. And Vaughan full of confidence.
Well, he's gone, Kasparov's there for in that over, 8 of the runs in that over. He might think, well, you know, it wasn't bad. He's gone for 4 overthrows, which didn't best please him. He's then bowled what seemed to be, to me, a perfectly respectable length and line delivery, which Vaughan just stood up, leant on, and eased it with immaculate timing through the timing of each of the batsmen that we've seen so far has astounded me on what is essentially a slow pitch and ought to be quite difficult for timing.
Well, it is extraordinary how things at the moment are turning round for England. It's Gillespie in bowls to Skothic. Skothic whips it off his leg, goes down to fine leg for 4. No one's going to get that, least of all Lee down there. And so that is 4 more. It was a lovely shot by Skothic. Wasn't a very good ball. He whipped it round fine off the middle of the bat. 150's up, 151 for 1, and 81 to Skothic. And if people you're curious why we're having a bit of trouble with the scores, it is because the scoreboard is electronically operated, and there is no electricity here at the ground. It has been a massive power failure. So we have to rely as ever on Bill. Here is Gillespie to Skothic. Skothic just stands up, plays it back defensively down the pitch, and Gillespie himself fields. The score remains on 151 for 1. And that helicopter, carrying a huge Australian sign behind it, continues to make a rather stately progress across the ground, going over the pavilion, over our left shoulder, while the blue dirigible bobbles around over there with its television camera. And here comes Gillespie again, up to the wicket, out bowls to Skothic. Skothic dabs his way on just behind square on the offside. They go for a quick single. Hayden from the gully gets to it, doesn't pick up, and the score goes on to 152 for 1, Vaughan to 15. You were pointing at something of great
Well,
figure.
you probably noticed the telly's back on, the scoreboard's moving.
And I didn't. I was
Yeah,
so...
we're back in the 21st century now.
Oh,
We're okay.
Well, we're some of the way back anyway. So Bill puts away his abacus, and 151 for 1. Where the big screen hasn't come back on, but the scoreboard it provides essential information for all of us. And Skothic has 82. And here is Gillespie bowling to Michael Bourne. He's up the wicket, he bowls, Bourne goes back and cuts, and that's going to be 4 runs. It was a splendid stroke. He stood up and he played it away just backward of square for 4. It was a lovely shot. And he's got 18 runs in no time at all. It's 155 for 1 now. And that was another stroke of great authority, wasn't it?
Well, it's extraordinary. I mean, that's exactly what you don't bowl on this pitch. Short of a length, it will just sit up. But, I mean, the ball is just being dispatched this afternoon as it was this morning.
It's sensational stuff. And here comes Gillespie again. He's up to the wicket now, he bowls, and Vaughan comes forward, driving down to mid-on. He timed that one pretty well, too. And Martin had to scramble away there to pick that up. And so 155 for 1, the score. 82 to Skothic, 18 to Vaughan, and the man out for 48 was Andrew Strauss, who was bowled by Vaughan. One which he was trying to force away on the offside, came between bat and pad, probably under a flat bat, I think, probably more than between through the gate, so to speak. And Gillespie in again to Vaughan. Vaughan cuts, and that's into the covers. No, he didn't time that. It looked, I think, for a moment, and some of the crowd thought that was through for 4, but it wasn't. It was a very good piece of fielding there by Langer in the covers to his left, who stopped it, and there was no run. It's the end of the over, another very interesting over. 155 for 1, the score. 18 Michael Vaughan, 82 Marcus Skothic.
It was going to be a poor last delivery. That, you know, he dragged it down. You could see that from the bowler's actions after Vaughan failed to score from it. It was there to be hit, but came through so slowly that not even Vaughan, in the sort of form he appears to be in, could time that one. But Jason Gillespie not getting his line right. He's not getting his length right. He really is at the moment a shadow of the terrific bowler that we've seen here in the past.
And my goodness me, Ponting must give his eye tooth, wouldn't he, for Glenn McGrath, who could come in and put it absolutely there or thereabouts. That's what these bowlers haven't been doing. It's going to be Kasparovich who's going to try again. And he's now bowling to Trescothick. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls outside the off stump, lifting a little, and no stroke from Trescothick, taken by Gilchrist. Kasparovich 8 overs, 3 maidens, none for 36. And well, the other bowling figures: Lee 7 overs, 1 maiden, none for 43. Gillespie 8 overs, 1 maiden, none for 36. And Bourne 7 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 40. The most, no, not quite the most expensive, but the only successful bowler so far. And it's Kasparovich in. He bowls, and forward comes Trescothick. Oh, and he timed that one beautifully. It went into the covers. Langer fielded, but in fact didn't pick it. No ball was being signalled to. So 156 for 1. Didn't he time that well?
It went like a shell, doesn't it?
It's extraordinary how this game is going on. And who can say that Test cricket is a dull game these days? It's anything but that. And Kasparovich prancing in now. He bowls it short. Trescothick goes back, just drops it down in front of him. And various fielders come in on the offside and from the leg side. It's Katic from square leg who in the end picks up. And there is no run. And Michael Vaughan goes down the pitch and gives it a bit of a prod. So does Trescothick from the other end. And umpire Kurtzin comes forward and has a look. A gentleman in a red, rather voluminous red T-shirt walks up the steps over there by the cherry picker. I don't know what he's doing. Kasparovich, meantime, is in. Bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke there from Trescothick. And through it goes to Gilchrist. We've had a very untempestuous sort of day from the Eric Hollies stand, because that's where the noise and the fun is usually generated, and also where the fancy dress parties go on. And apart from a group of people in green, who I dare say have something to do with Australia, sitting at the far end of it, I don't see any cross-dressing or fancy dressing. Here's Kasparovich in, bowls to Trescothick. Trescothick is forward, plays there to backward point. Clark picks up, turns to Gilchrist, and I think Mike Selby has
the green T-shirts. I think they're the pride side, aren't they? Isn't that the N-Power kids? They come along and watch, and they give them go on the field there before play, and a special pack of games and scorecards and all sorts of things.
Oh, I hope so. Kasparovich in now. Bowls to Trescothick. Trescothick drives, and that's gone all the way through. Langer fell down, or he went right through him, in fact. I think on another day he would have felt that he should have stopped that one, but my goodness, he hit it well. He timed it beautifully. So that takes Trescothick along to 86, and the total to 160 for 1.
Well, you would expect that to be stopped, wouldn't you?
Yes.
He's hit it hard, but he's there to stop the hard hits. It's just grist to the mill.
And here comes Kasparovich once more, in to Trescothick. It's short. Trescothick goes back, cuts. It's that, and a great diving stop there, behind square at backward point by Clark. He deflects the ball away, and they come back for a second run. So 88 to Trescothick at the end of the over. 162 for 1 the score. Bourne 18, and just both these batsmen at the moment since lunch throwing everything up to and including the kitchen sink at it.
It's they're just carrying on where they left off at lunch. It's a real problem at the moment for Ricky Ponting, who's used to being in control. You know, whomsoever he calls up just comes and does the job for him, and often it doesn't matter who he turns to. But at the moment, he's really struggling to come with a combination that will rein back these England batsmen. He's got Kasparovich at this end, who I thought would bowl well in these conditions, who's really struggling for his rhythm. He's struggling with his run up. He's bowling no balls, and if you're doing that, your mind's not 100% on the job at the other end anyway. He's been backed up, or not been backed up by his fielders, which is further not helped. And at the other end, you've got Jason Gillespie, who's really again struggling for his own rhythm.
Well, here's Gillespie again. His long hair coming in with him up to the wicket. Now he bowls Vaughan. Vaughan's forward, a nice stroke. That's fielded there in the covers by Langer, and there's no run. And Bill has something statistical to tell us.
Well, first of all,
Trescothick's score is his highest against Australia's previously 76, which was on this ground 4 years ago. And the other thing is their partnership, the opening partnership between Tres and Strauss of 112 is the highest first wicket partnership by England against Australia on this ground. And in 21 opening partnerships, there's only been one other of over 100. Back in 1909, C.B. Fry and Jack Hobbs put on 105 unbroken.
So Bill is the only man unaffected by the power cut, you can see. Here comes Gillespie bowls. Oh my goodness, Bourne left that alone. He knows where his off stump is, but it wasn't all that wide of it. And just for a moment, the slips sort of went up, sensing that one just might have come back and hit the stumps. It didn't. 162 for 1 still the score. All the 8s, 88 to Trescothick, 18 to Michael Vaughan, and that one really... it went, I think, over the stumps, but almost over the off stump. It was a fairly precarious lead, I would have thought. And Gillespie it is, from the city end, coming in past umpire Bowden. He's there now, he bowls, Vaughan goes back, then slightly squared him up, played it into the covers, Langer twinkling in, fields, and there is no run. And I don't know quite... Well, with the fiddling going on, I hope the sound is coming through. We're on a rather different machine to the one we were on this morning, but at least we're on. The power cut hasn't kept us off the air. Nothing shuts up Test Match Special, I think. Nothing silences Test Match Special. And here comes Gillespie in, bowls to Vaughan, and Vaughan goes... really plays it from the crease down to mid-on, and Lee there is the fielder, returns to Gillespie, who doesn't take it cleanly for once. And chap in a yellow t-shirt and 2 of his friends in dark-coloured ones go for a walk in the stand just under the cherry picker across to our left, and the empty seats caused by the corporate hospitality wallers are beginning to fill up. I dare say they've been seeing from their television sets all the excitement, and I thought, this is too good to be true, and that last glass of port has been left full, or very nearly full. And to say nothing of the strawberry tart. Here comes Gillespie in, bowls, Vaughan is forward, pushes into the offside, Langer's in, and there's no run. 162 for 1 the score, and of course England were put into bat by Australia this morning. And those of you listening, I say, in Australia, instead of finding this a sort of something happy news to send you to sleep, it must induce insomnia. It's really bad news for you, and of course the injury to McGrath must in some part be responsible, but the psychological advantage has certainly moved to England today so far. Gillespie goes again to Vaughan. Vaughan's forward fluently, easily, doesn't quite time it. It bounces into the ground, fielded in the covers, and there is no run. It's the end of the over. It's 162 for 1, 88 to Trescothick, 18 to Michael Vaughan, and after another word from Mike Selvey, it will be Jonathan Agnew.
Well, already Michael Vaughan seems to be moving nicely into his strokes. He got well forward there to Jason Gillespie, moved into it really, really well. It still is a surprise to me that they're all timing the ball so well in here. Perhaps it's lost a little bit of its early sluggishness, just coming on a little bit better, as one would expect it to do so over the course of the game. It'll harden up the pitch, no doubt, but Ricky Ponting's still struggling for some control here.
162 for 1, thank you, Mike. Here comes Kasevich bowling on middle leg to Trescothick, who turns that away to square leg, and there's no run. Hopefully everything is restored here. Well done, blowers, are soldiering on there. Rather difficult circumstances. Good training for the winter, possibly, but there was a power cut that literally hit the whole ground. It took everything out, the scoreboard, the electronic screen, absolutely everything. And even Bill Frindle, which isn't easy to do. In fact, we must get a few tips and do it again. Here goes Kasevich, and Trescothick glides that away down towards fine leg. There's Gillespie down there wearing a sun hat now, and he hurls the ball back to Trescothick, coming for the second, had to run. The bails are whipped off. He is in his ground, but he's rather sluggish there, setting off. I'm not entirely sure why there should have been a delay. I think 2 were always on there, and it goes on to 164 for 1, and Trescothick now on to 90, the first time he's entered the 90s in a test match against Australia. There was a struggle there. He was about 2 feet, I think, in his ground. He's on 90. In goes Kasevich and bowls to outside. The off stump is caught behind. He reached for that. A little outside edge. And Gilchrist took the catch in front of first slip. And Trescothick will be furious about that. He was so well set. He had batted magnificently. That was a thoroughly innocuous delivery. It was pushed across him. It was wide. He followed it. And a dejected Trescothick pulls off his gloves, tugs off his helmet, mops his brow, and heads towards us and to the England dressing rooms, raising his bat. He's getting a standing ovation. But how disappointed will he be? 90 from 102 balls. It was a lovely innings. And England have lost their second wicket with a score on 164. And Ian Bell comes out to bat at number 4.
On his home ground. He'll be in a different frame of mind here. It's familiar territory to him. He's had his first Ashes experience already. He's got that out of the way. There'll be a lot of noise going on around there again.
But I don't think he'll be quite so phased this time, as he clearly was at Lord's. He's seen this exhilarating start from England, so he knows that it's very playable. And these might just be the right circumstances for him.
I wonder if they'll bring Bourne straight into the attack.
It's a good point. He's tormented him twice now, and once in the Test match, and also he did him fairly easily. I think the only other time they played against each other in a one-day game last year. So Bourne will be itching to get on, I bet. He'll be saying, "Come on, I want to get that. Let me have a go at him. Another wicket for me."
Well, he averages over 100, of course, in Test cricket. And in goes Kasevich and bowls to Bell, whose first ball is turned away. He's off the mark straight away. Turning that down to deep square leg. Gillespie shrugs off his sun hat, throws the ball back. And well, everyone here, I'm sure, Warwickshire supporters, most of them, delighted that Bell is off the mark first ball. 166 for 2. He has 2. Bill.
Well, Trescothick, 102 balls for his 90. His previous highest score against Australia was 76 here 4 years ago. 2 sixes and 15 fours, and he batted 143 minutes.
But he was disappointed with the way he got out, I'm sure of that. So it was a wide, innocuous ball, and he just followed it. He'd left so many of those alone in the course of that innings. In goes Kasevich and bowls outside the off stump, and Bell's getting 4 here. A late cut through square third man. Goes past Hayden in the gully like a rocket. And the ball boys have been kept very busy today with all these boundaries that have been struck. And that wasn't a very good ball. And Bell seized on it, hitting it down hard into the ground. And away for 4. 170 for 2. Bell has 6. And now he settles in once again. There are 2 slips and a gully as Kasevich moves in and bowls to him, and he's caught behind. Third ball. Bell has made 6. 2-4 out. And Gilchrist again took the catch there, moving to his right. And it wasn't a bad ball, it was just round about the right place. It moved away slightly off the seam. And Bell thoroughly disappointed as he becomes the second Englishman to trudge back in this same Kasevich. Over 170 for 3.
That was a better looking ball, wasn't it, than the one that got Trescothick out. It's doing what needs to be done. You just need to plug away on this pitch if you're a bowler. Kasevich is that kind of a bowler who should be able to do that. And he's turned the game round a little bit now, hasn't he? 173, got another new Test cricketer in here, albeit one who made a pretty impressive start at Lord's. Nonetheless, he's down to the inexperienced players. You've got Andrew Flintoff coming next, who's scarcely in prime form. And suddenly Australia are thinking, hang on a minute, we're not doing so badly here after all. It's cracking on at the pace, but we've got 3 people out now.
Well, that was the end of a very eventful over, with Kasevich taking 2 wickets in it, so he's now taken 2 for 51 from 10 overs. He's gone for 5 and over, but he's now picked up 2 wickets, and he's conceded 9 boundaries in those 10 overs. Bourne is on strike on 18 not out, and he's going to face Gillespie from the city end. There are 2 slips and a gully. The sun beating down now as Gillespie comes in and bowls, and Vaughan goes studiously onto the back foot and plays that very correctly towards mid-off. Now it's intercepted by Langer. And there's no run. 170 for 3. Not long ago, England were 112 for no wicket, 164 for 1. So it's a little session here for Australia in this first half hour or so after lunch. And very eventful too, with the power failure that just took everything out of the ground, even the scoreboard. But that's all happily restored again, and Gillespie is on his way once more to bowl to the right-handed Vaughan. He's there, he bowls short and wide of the off stump, and Vaughan allows that to pass wide and through to Gilchrist. More of a bounce now about the Australians too. Hayden comes down for a chat to Ponting, who's standing there at second slip. Vaughan chirpy as ever, adding something there at first slip. Seeing a few replays of Bell's dismissal. Mike, any particular observation?
It didn't look a bad ball, actually. He had to play it. It was a straightish ball that just nipped away a fraction, drew him into the stroke.
Gillespie again, a large leap bowls on the off stump. Vaughan again goes back with a very high left elbow, not the one that was hit in the nets a couple of days ago. That was his right elbow. It's no mean feat, actually, to hit the right elbow of a batsman, but it's usually the left elbow of a right-handed batsman that's vulnerable. But he certainly looks in no discomfort at all. At the other end, Peterson plays all sorts of defensive strokes, imagining the ball coming down to him, which it will be soon enough, I'm sure. 170 for 3, Vaughan on 18. And with long strides, Gillespie's there. He bowls it on no ball, which is played up to cover by Vaughan. Langer fields. One more goes to England's score, 171 for 3 now. One has been a rip-roaring opening day to this second test match. Couldn't have asked for any more, really. If you were paying your £30 or £40 or it's cost to come in here today, I think you've almost had your money's worth already.
Well, we're a third of the way through it, that's all as well. It's it is remarkable the pace at which Test cricket is played these days, though, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think go out there and bat till lunch and see the shine off it. There's John Edrich and Jeff Boycott going out to bat. So on. So these are long gone. 171 for 3. In comes Gillespie, and Vaughan allows that to go through outside the off stump. Well, of course, Edrich played rather more shots than Boycott, didn't he? How did he score in that one day up at Headingley against New Zealand? Bill, John Edrich?
In the Test match of 1965, 310 not out.
There we go.
That wasn't in one day, though.
Wasn't in one day. How many scored the day?
I think he belted an awful lot of sixes that year, though, John Edrich. He suddenly started...
Yes, he did. He got the record number of boundaries in a Test innings in that one.
Gillespie pauses again, sucks in some air, and now is on his way past the umpire. He bowls one, keeps a little bit low perhaps. Vaughan goes back to meet it, and that's played back to the bowler once again. It's a little slap on the back there from Justin Langer, who's fielding at short extra cover. Again, it's been rather a battle for Gillespie today. He apparently put a better spell in at Worcester, but he's on one of those tours where he just needs to get a bit of rhythm and find some line. Well, 194 scored on that first day. Thank you, Bill. And finished 310 not out. Then comes Gillespie, and Vaughan gets on as wide of the off stump, which he allows to pass through. There we go. He hit. This is John Edrich again. 5 sixes and 52 fours. That's why it's stuck out in the mind.
He hit an awful lot of sixes that year, and it was almost like it was out of character. I mean, I can remember sitting in the stand that used to be the left of the pavilion at the Oval there one day, reading the scorebook and watching him, and he belted this. I can see it now. He belted this thing like not quite a slog sweep now, but over long on. It came past the stand and it went out of the ground. It went bouncing down the road towards the tube station.
Really?
I promise you, it was a huge hit. Yeah, it was flattish too.
The massive forearms.
Yeah,
very strong man. Now we're going to watch Peterson, who's taking guard. There's a lot of talk out there amongst the Australians. I can hear it chatter, and they're deciding what they're going to do with this field. The problem for Ponting is that neither Kasevich nor Gillespie have really been on target today. And the way that Peterson bats, he could get away to a flyer here, it's conceivable, so he's being careful with his field. He's got a deep square leg, long leg. There's a man at backwards square leg in a catching position, 2 slips in a gully, and then orthodox run-saving positions elsewhere.
They've got to catch him early, haven't they? He gets a lot of noughts, but then when he gets going, he really stays going.
Kasevich on his way, bowls to Peterson. It's picked up. Oh, just wide of the man there. At deep, short leg rather, and it's gone away for 4. But that wasn't far away for the man who was deliberately placed. It was a no ball, so in fact, even had there been a catch taken there, it wouldn't have counted. But clearly, that's something that the Australians are working on. Langer absolutely deliberately placed there. If I call him deep short leg, then I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's basically where he is.
Mid-leg. What about mid-leg?
Mid-leg. Australians would call it leg gully, but he's a little bit deeper than that still. He's there for a flick rather than a fended stroke. So Peterson, 4 first ball. In goes Kasevich. The ball's in exactly the same place, and that's worked away into the leg side. Lee can't prevent the single. And that takes Peterson to 5. 176 for 3. It's a brave tactic to bowl deliberately at a man's leg stump.
They're right up too, weren't they? Maybe looking at Yorkers. There's a theory about him, LBW, isn't there? He'd do this trigger movement across the crease, so looking for that as well, maybe. It's a very deliberate field, you're right, and Ricky Ponting stood right under his nose, didn't he, and set the field.
Kasevich moves in, and Vaughan drives elegantly. That's a glorious shot. There's no better cover driver in the game than Michael Vaughan. A beautiful stroke, perfectly executed. It wasn't a half volley, just full enough and with enough width to drive that through the covers for 4. Another no ball, Bill. Oh word, that really was a lovely stroke. One that you simply have to watch on the replay. There's something about the way Vaughan plays that cover drive. It just stands him well apart from anybody else at the moment. In goes Kasevich and bowls to him. It's shorter, turned into the leg side. They'll scurry a quick single. 183 for 3. And we're in the 35th over. It's batting today has been a flurry of strokes, boundaries all over the field, a couple of 6s.
The game's gone mad, hasn't it?
That's right.
We got out at the right time, didn't we? I reckon.
Now the mid-leg fielder, as we were calling him, has now come to short mid-wicket for Peterson, who's on 5. 183 for 3. Kasevich goes running away from us again and bowls it short, and with a flourish there Peterson plays it off the back foot, but can't beat Clark at point, and there's no run. 183 for 3.
It's a bit like a Matthew Hoggard spell, this, isn't it? Because he goes for a lot of boundaries and then suddenly produces these little bursts of wickets.
Oh, he's fiddling with the field. Look, that the man who started almost taking a catch first ball has gone from backwards short leg to short mid wicket and now to short extra cover. And he's rather putting Kasevich off, I think. He's trying to work out where his fielders are. He ran in there and saw something had changed, and so decided he would take another look. He's going to start again. It's Langer who's just being moved all over the field at the moment. And now Peterson settles down again as Vaughan loosens his arms there at first slip. In goes Kasevich and bowls, and Peterson works that away from right up middle and off up to mid-on. Lee is the fielder. That's the area that Peterson can be vulnerable. He's playing slightly from offside to leg early in his innings. Anyone who does that is bound to be vulnerable if the ball cuts back a little bit, or if he plays across the line and misses it. And now another field change with a deep square leg coming up to save a single, and Langer's dropped back a bit. That's short extra cover. They're changing the field every ball. In goes Kasevich, bowls wide outside the off stump. Peterson ignores it. 183 for 3. Reminds me of Bish and Beddy. He tinkered every ball, didn't he, with somebody moving a couple of yards here, or
I wonder what you're going to say for a minute though, because
well, the bowling doesn't resemble Bish and Beddy.
Michael Kasevich in no way, shape or form reminds me of Bish and Beddy.
Not even with a turban on. No, the tinkering of the field.
Alright, yeah.
183 for 3. Then goes Kasevich, is there. He bowls Peterson, who's back, forcing it up to extra cover. Langer fields. And that over comes to an end. 183 for 3. Peterson is on 5. Michael Vaughan 23. It's worth recapping here for people who are just joining us. England put into bat. Have lost Strauss after a stand of 112 with Trescothick. Strauss out for 48, who's bowled by Vaughan. He's in a stand of 52 from only 44 balls between Trescothick and Vaughan. Trescothick was out for 90. He was caught behind off Kasparovich. That was 164 for 2. He hit 15 fours and 2 sixes and faced only 102 balls. He's never scored 100 against Australia, and he missed out by 10 runs. Ian Bell hit a 2 and a 4 and was out next ball for 6. That was 170 for 3. So it's Vaughan and Peterson at the crease. Vaughan is coming into the attack. We thought he wouldn't be too far away, but that was when Bell was batting, of course. But maybe now it's to try and torture Peterson, his big buddy down there at Hampshire. And he was on 5, not out. But it'll be Vaughan who's going to face him first. Again, there are men going all over the place. The field changing every ball at the moment. There's a slip and a forward short leg. Man at short extra cover. Vaughan still fiddling.
Did he bowl at Vaughan when he first came in? Or is it the first time he's actually bowled at right-hander?
It's a question for Bill, which I'll put to him in a moment. But it's Vaughan who waits for Vaughan, and with a grunt he bowls on Midland leg. It's padded back to the bowler, and there's no run. Has Vaughan faced Vaughan in this innings, Bill?
In other words, has he bowled to the right-hander yet?
2 balls before lunch, scored 1 off the second one.
Vaughan comes pacing in again and bowls, and Vaughan sweeps. He's got that away pretty fine too. Chase for Kasparovich down deep backward square leg. He'll get there with just 1 run taken. 184 for 3. Billy Bowden, the umpire at the far end, wanders back into his position, having kept a low profile today for Billy. We haven't seen much of him. He signalled a 6 with a bit of a flourish and a wave of the right foot when Trescothick hit Vaughan over his head. But otherwise, the New Zealander somewhat becalmed. He's in test match mode. He does have 2 modes, Bowden, one-day mode and test mode. And he's been quite reserved so far today. Now then, there are 3 men around the bat. Peterson's going to face Vaughan for the first time. And Vaughan comes striding in from that far end. He's there, he bowls, and Peterson, gets an edge there. It runs past the short leg fieldsman down to deep backward square leg. So he gets up to the far end. Vaughan looks disgusted, of course. Was that a googly that Peterson didn't spot, or did he simply go at it a little bit hard, I wonder, with his bat, pushing at it and
Fizzed off the inside edge, didn't it?
Yep.
I wonder if he's got something in his boxer tricks he hasn't shown Peterson yet, that all the time they've had at Hampshire so far.
There's Vaughan again, a slower one, which they're counting catch it, which Katic does, but umpire Bowden announced it. Now it came off the middle of Vaughan's pad, I think. 185 for 3. Vaughan just believes he's capable of taking a wicket every ball. He appeals all the time. That wasn't too far away, but it was far away enough, and that was a good decision by Billy Bowden. 185 for 3. Vaughan strides in again. He's there. He bowls a flatter one. Vaughan is forward, playing up to short extra cover. And there's no run. 185 for 3. Vaughan settles in again. In comes Vaughan. He's there. He bowls a slower one. Vaughan is forward to it, padding it away. Picked up by Katic, walking round from forward short leg. The over ends 185 for 3. Trescothick 90, Strauss 48 and Bell 6. The men dismissed. More from Mike Selby and then Jim Maxwell.
I think the catch that wasn't there that they were appealing for wasn't so much for a bat pad catch as perhaps the rebound from the pad forwards just clipping the glove, because it did bounce up. I don't think it did actually flick the glove, but it certainly wasn't very far away from it. Vaughan looking menacing in that over. A lot of variety. Seems that he's a bowler who doesn't have too many deliveries that he wants to bowl. He basically bowls his leg break, and he bowls this slider that everybody's come to know now, which is basically a slow straight ball, but it's the variation. But the variations within the leg break are just astounding. The ability to impart different degrees of spin, so some will turn sharply, others not quite so sharply. He's a wonderful bowler to watch. It's an education watching him.
Yes, and watching him operating today, one would have thought perhaps his powers maybe just deserting him for a while, but then he came back and bowled Strauss just at the point when England looked like storming into lunch at none down. He bowled him with a quicker leg break that Strauss tried to force to the offside, and it went between bat and pad and hit the off stump. Trescothick, since lunch, caught on the washing line, just hanging it a bit. Gilchrist took the outside edge from Kasparovich. He made 90, his highest score against Australia, and Bell caught behind for just 6 from Kasparovich. Gillespie's bowling just wide of the off stump, and no ball. They've got no ballitis. Now, Bill, tell me, how many no balls has Kasparovich bowled at this end? From one of them, a catch was taken. 7.
Gillespie's bowled 1 from each end, and Lee 2 from this end.
Well, that's
so only 1 no ball signalled by the New Zealand bowler.
Does make you wonder why they go to all the effort of getting tape measures out there and putting marks on the ground. I don't know, is it a downhill run from this pavilion end? Well, what is it that makes them a step over? Henry, you'd know.
No, it's not downhill from this end. No. They're always up there teasing that front line with the heel rather than the toe.
Gillespie bowls, and he misses off the thick inside edge. He was trying to force down the ground, Peterson, and came back on him, and he wasn't quite over the line of it, and it went towards mid-wicket, and Cattage at 3 for 186. Peterson 6, and Vaughan on 24. In goes Gillespie, short, and it's hit high down towards long leg. He should be caught by Lee, who's under it, and he takes the catch. Lee's taken the catch, a top edge stroke, and it soared into the air, almost up towards the dirigible, and down it came. And it came with some weights on it, and Lee got under it right on the line. It only needed a bit more way on it to carry the line, and Lee positioned himself and judged it superbly. Gillespie picks up the wicket of Michael Vaughan, and England have gone from a position of apparent strength at 1 for 164 to be looking a bit giddy at 4 for 187. Vaughan departs for 24.
And Brett Lee may have got giddy being underneath that. That was as high as I've seen a hook shot hit. Much of it was top edge, and with a breeze blowing across the ground and down towards fine leg, I thought for a moment it was going to drift over the boundary. And Michael Vaughan, who looked in absolute terrific touch, the best we've seen him for some time, almost astonishingly gets out and playing the hook shot. He's been driving brilliantly and avoiding the hook shot, and the Australians have not given him many to play that shot on. He does fancy it. He's a good puller in front of square leg, but that was a genuine top edge, and perhaps surprised that Gillespie had banged one in, and he had to play the hook shot. And a 37 from Bourne, which is as good as a 37 you'll see. However, the skipper's on his way, and England have crashed from no wicket for 152 to 187 for 4.
He got off the mark with a miscue over mid-off to the boundary. From the city end, Warren bowls again. Flintoff forward, plays it quietly towards Cattage, who's the under the noser on the onside. Ponting's there on the offside. Hayden's at slip. Backward point, a cover point, big gap around to mid-off, a mid-on, a mid-wicket, and a deep backward square. Shane Warne, the mesmeriser. He bowls a ball that's pushed away by Flintoff from the line of the pads, the straight honour. And it goes quietly out towards mid-wicket where Martin is fielding. The old cat and mouse are going on here. Who's going to jump next? Big hit from Flintoff. Warne bowls now. Flintoff forward again, and the ball goes from the pad around the corner. It was threatening to come back near the leg stump, and they'll go back for 2. Let's wait on Billy Bowden. Runs or leg buys? He got a bat on it at the last moment, and it edged past the line of the leg stump He moves to 6, 4 for 195.
And you just sense Flintoff fight against his natural inclination to go after the bowling as well. And he was criticised for the way he played Bourne, perhaps with some impetuosity at Lords. He really has got the head down at the moment, particularly since he got off the mark with that very risky shot over mid-off, but seems more intent on defence, getting forward to Bourne and covering anything that he's got going for him. The spin, all the straight stuff.
Warns in again. Flintoff on the back foot, forces the ball hard to wide mid-on, and Lee dives to stop it, and they take a single as he made a little fumble and then regathered. So Flintoff 7, Peterson 9. Two batsmen who love to attack. They can almost outdo each other. So it'll be interesting to see if they can form a partnership with him. Martin now sent out to deep mid-wicket, where he caught Peterson at Lords. Warren bowls. Peterson drives and drives handsomely towards wideish mid-off and Kasparovich for a single. And throws high towards Gilchrist to complete the over. Billy Bowden's thirsty. He wants a drink. They're all having a drink. You might want to get a cup of tea if you're listening somewhere or other, or maybe something stronger if you're concerned that England have all of a sudden gone from a position of strength to some vulnerability. 4 for 197 with 10 on the board there for Peterson, 7 for Flintoff, and that's the situation with drinks on the field. And after some more from Henry, it'll be Henry to come in and join you.
Oh, well, thanks, James. Well, it's been a wonderful hour's cricket to back up some terrific batting in the first session by England, and when you get 132 for 1 in a session after being sent in, you'd be very pleased with your position, and so they should have been. Marcus Trescothick in particular was in wonderful form, and it seemed quite a shock when he was out, just edging one. It did seem that pitched middle to me, and he had to play at it and did follow it. But sometimes when you're seeing the ball very well, that's when you catch up with those balls that do move a long way. And he got that edge through to Adam Gilchrist, and from that time Ian Bell fell in the same over. And then Michael Vaughan hooking high, a very good catch at fine leg. So the game has changed. Halfway through the first day, we've already had 197 runs in just 40 overs for 4 wickets. Henry Blofeld, it has been exciting Test match cricket.
You just simply couldn't wish for anything more. I think from England's point of view, I think it's been almost sadder than what happened at Lords in a funny way. I mean, or particularly in the first innings. I mean, they got such a wonderful start today, and then carelessness, lack of concentration, I don't know what. I mean, one felt that Trescothick, Vaughan and Bell's dismissals were all avoidable, and I suppose Bell one has to feel a little bit more sorry for, in that he'd only just come in, and having played a cut just behind square for 4, he then got a very good one, which I think he had to play, and left him just a fraction, didn't it? And it was too good for him. He got a nick. But a great deal depends on what's going to happen now, and it's fascinating because we know beyond doubt, I think, that Peterson can handle himself in this company. Flintoff has never handled himself against Australia. He said this was only his second opportunity of doing so. At the moment, he looks in terrible nick, but he's a very determined cricketer, and we could be in for a great deal of fun from England's point of view if these two survive for, until after tea. On the other hand, if one of them is to go now, and if I had to put my money on which one would go first, it would be on Flintoff, because he's looking most unhappy. But I dare say many of the fine innings in cricket have been played by batsmen who have struggled over their first 20 or 30 minutes. Some very fine players have been bad starters, and Flintoff is at the moment finding that aspect of it rather difficult.
Well, and sometimes the key to becoming a good player is knowing how to get through the difficult periods. And Warren's still bowling well here, and he's changing his flight and his trajectory and the amount of spin he's putting on it. And Flintoff, I think, and to his credit, has decided, well, try and get forward as much as I can, cover everything he's got. I don't care what I look like. What I need to do is survive, get through this difficult period, and then, as you say, after tea, that's the time to really flourish. And if these two do get going, we could see another flurry of runs, and England could make 380 or whatever in a day's play, but they have to get through this difficult period right now.
Indeed. It's Gillespie starting in now to bowl to Peterson. He's there. He bowls. Peterson just stands in the crease, stands up, plays that out into the covers, and Langer fields, returns to Gilchrist, and there's no run. There's somebody walking on the top of the RES Wyatt stand. I think he's been sitting with the press photographers. I mean, he's obviously a man. He's got a paper in his hand. I don't know whether he's going to file something, get himself a drink or whatever. Anyway, he's climbed down the stairs now. It's looking lovely, plenty of blue sky, the clouds there are high, and here is Gillespie from the pavilion end in, bowls Peterson outside the off stump. Peterson leaves it alone. There's a yell of "ah" from someone out there, which indicates that it was quite close to the off stump, but I don't think quite as close as all that. And Peterson at the moment, and this is almost certainly tempting Providence, Peterson at the moment playing very sensibly.
Very similar to how he started at Lord's, when he was at the crease under pressure very early on, and he's watchful. He's giving due respect to a good delivery, and that's all you can ask of a batsman in this situation.
Well, absolutely. Although Peterson has got a history of many noughts behind him, he's not looking that way inclined today. Gillespie bowls outside the off stump again. He plays no. It looks quickly behind him because Gilchrist for once doesn't take it cleanly, and I think he was sort of sensing that there might have somewhere been a bye, but in point of fact the ball just fell out of Gilchrist's gloves at his feet, and he was very quick to retrieve it. The ground absolutely packed. All those corporate hospitality seats that were empty after lunch have been filled. Many of stewards around the ground in their yellowy green day-glow jackets. And Edgerton looking a picture. It's always a lovely ground, this. But the RES Wyatt stand, the big stand at the city end, has really completed the circle. And here comes Gillespie in short, and that's pulled away there by Peterson. That's the most emphatic 4 runs. It's fielded there by one of those ball boys at deep square leg. It was short, it asked for it. You don't bowl long hops like that at Kevin Peterson and get away with it. He goes to 14. It's 200, and the 200's up, 201 for 4.
I think you're quite right. It was more a long hop than a bouncer. If you want to get the ball up head high, it's got to be halfway down the pitch at least, and that will challenge Peterson, not the ball that gets up waist high.
And Gillespie again in bowls Peterson, and it's short. Peterson onto the back foot, plays it back down the pitch. Gillespie reaches for it, doesn't get to it, and it goes down, picked up there at mid-on by Kasparovich, and nothing is done. 201 for 4. The men out. Trescothick caught Gilchrist, bowled Kasparovich for 90, his highest score against Australia. Strauss bowled Bourne 48. They put on 112 for the first wicket, the highest for England against Australia on this ground. Vaughan caught Lee, bowled Gillespie 24, and Bell caught Gilchrist, bowled Kasparovich 6. And here comes Gillespie again. It's outside the off stump, and Flintoff shoulders arms with and holds the poise, not quite a la Courtney Walsh, but if those who know what Courtney Walsh looks like and he shoulders arms will know a bit what I mean. 201 for 4 at the end of the over. Like I said, it's Flintoff. In fact, it was Peterson. Peterson's got 14. Flintoff has 7.
Honours to Kevin Peterson in that over. There was 5 really good deliveries, good length, just outside off stump, on off stump, and 1 attempted challenge of the batsman, but it was more a long hop rather than a bouncer, and Peterson dealt with it rather efficiently. And if he continues to play exactly in that mode, you've got to think he's going to have a long time at the crease. If he has a long time at the crease, he'll be quite a few. At the other end, Freddie Flintoff has got challenges of his own against Shane Warne.
Well, yes, we got 3 men round the bat, slip, silly, point, forward, short leg. And here comes Warne again, this walk up to the wicket. He's there now, he bowls. Flintoff's forward, that one turned, it went past the outside edge, through to Gilchrist, and there was no run. I'm not certain that Jeff Boycott's advice oughtn't to be followed by Flintoff now. I think Boycott, if asked where the best way to play Warne at the moment would be, he would say from the other end. From the other end, yes.
And that one turned and bounced. The first ball we've really seen turn.
A pigeon flops across the proceedings. Not many birds around today. And here comes Warne again, bowls. Flintoff is forward, down the leg side, well taken by Gilchrist, who whips off a leg bail, taking a precaution that Flintoff might overbalance. He doesn't. And very politely, Gilchrist picks the bail up and replaces it, saving umpire Kurtzin from an unnecessary journey. And Warne it is, in now, bowls to Flintoff. Flintoff comes forward, plays that with no certainty at all, and the ball just trickles out on the onside, and Martin from mid-wicket runs across in front of mid-on and picks up. 201 for 4, England, and not a particularly impressive score considering they were 164 for 1. And here comes Bourne again, bowls to Flintoff. Flintoff drives, and that was in the air, but it's gone away for 4 runs. And there was a great, terrific goalkeeper-like leap by Martin there at mid-wicket. He couldn't get to it, and it went away into the crowd in the very far distance over in the left-hand corner of the ground, and make Flintoff feel better. It was well up to him, he hit it well. But again, it was a little bit close to the fielder. He's got 11 now. It's 205 for 4, and Bourne is in again. Up to the wicket, bowls to Flintoff. Flintoff lunges forward. You feel there's desperate uncertainty in that lunge, don't you?
Well, and it followed that risky boundary before. It was well struck, but gee, Catchwell high just wide of Martin at mid-wicket, and then perhaps Flintoff realised it was a risky stroke, and then he goes back into his shell, and the lunge appears just to try and get something on the bat.
Here's Bourne again, bowls to him, and he has time, he drives, he opens his shoulders, and he's got away with it. It's gone away, I think, for 6. Yes, it has. He really hit that. That's the Flintoff that the crowd here will love. And of course the crowd at Old Trafford, where the next test is played, know so well. It was well up to him, it was a flighted ball. He hit it, and he'll feel much better for that, because that was out of the middle of the bat. It was the old Flintoff, and he's having a chat with Peterson, and goodness me, he might be feeling he'd almost allow himself a smile. He's 17, Peterson's 14, it's 211 for 4.
Yeah, well struck, and Flintoff is known for this sort of aggression. I don't think he quite got it at the right trajectory. It went very high. It wasn't a lorry long hit, and lobbed over that shortish boundary. All these ropes they bring in these days, all that hard to hit a 60 on there. But that's the right aggression Flintoff's got to show. If he wants to play a big shot, make sure it's the right shot. Don't try to hit it against the spin or try to hit it inside out. Just hit it through the line and hit it hard. And
just go through with the stroke. Don't suddenly check halfway.
He wasn't quite to the pitch there, that's why it went high. But you're right. He went through the shot, and there's no one out there on the boundary to defend that sort of stroke.
And it's Gillespie once more. He's in now. Peterson goes on the back foot, hammers through the covers off the back, 4 runs. That was a lovely stroke. It found the gap between cover and extra, and there was no one could do anything about that. Clark chased it back and fetched it. And Flintoff plays that stroke so well. He had not much room in which to move to position himself, but he hit it beautifully out of the middle of the bat. He's 18. It's 215 for 4.
See, the outfield's quick these days.
It is, isn't it?
That raced across there.
Didn't it? It really did. It timed beautifully. Gillespie it is, in now to Peterson. He's there, it's short. Peterson just gets him behind it, playing it back, really off the front foot, I suppose. But it was dug in just a little bit shorter, and it was Gillespie himself in his follow-through who fielded. Well, we've seen in the last 2 overs, the last 3 or 4 balls, these 2 batsmen, something like that, well, not quite at their best, Flintoff's case, but a 6 over mid-wicket off Bourne, and now a beautiful stroke there off the back foot by Peterson against Gillespie, going away for 4. And here is Gillespie again, in to bowl to Peterson. He's up the wicket, he bowls. Peterson is forward driving down to mid-off, and there's no run there. Martin, the fielder, 215 for 4. Can we have a look at the bowling? Oh, sorry, Bill, I didn't write. Lee, 7 overs, 1 maiden, none for 43. Gillespie, 13 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 45. Kasparich, 11 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 63. And Bourne, 11 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 60. Sorry, Bill, I didn't realise you were doing something with the bowling figures. And Kasparich it is. Gillespie, rather, it is. He's in, he bowls, and Peterson drives off the front foot, and it's going away towards the cover boundary. It's going to be pulled back by Clark. He does about 3 or 4 yards in from the boundary, and the throw comes back, and that's just a couple of runs there to Peterson. He goes to 20. It's 217 for 4, and Gillespie looking rather weary, as though it's been quite a hard day's work, as he walks back to his mark, receives the ball from Martin there at mid-off. And he's quite a tall man, Gillespie, unmistakable flowing hair with quite a small beard, a little goatee beard. And here he is again, running in, past umpire Kurtz, and he's there. He bowls Peterson, who comes onto the front foot and times that quite well. Hits it straight to Langer in the covers, and there is no run.
You sense at the moment that Peterson's past that early jittery phase with so many failures. He's now starting to get the big front foot stride in and really presents the full face of the bat to the bowler. It's starting to look like Peterson's in form and sort of form we saw him at Lord's.
Yes, it's a very interesting piece of cricket, this. These two, from England's point of view, really must stay together until tea. Australia desperately need to dismiss one of them. And here is Gillespie again. Peterson works this one away. It was an extraordinary stroke, wide of mid-on. Lee had absolutely no chance at all. That was, no backlift at all. He just flicked it away, wide of mid-on. It absolutely raced across the ground. It takes him to 24, and it's 221 for 4 now. And 20 runs have come off the last 2 overs.
And there's nothing quite so disheartening to a bowler, particularly a faster bowler, when he comes in, bowls a pretty good ball, off stump, good length, and you expect, well, you might expect a wicket off, you might expect a dot ball at worst, and the batsman just cruises it past mid-on for 4, and that was an extraordinary shot. That was a shot of an absolutely top-level player. That was timed, it was hit from outside off stump through mid-wicket. Lovely stroke.
Well, now it's Bourne, back to torture Flintoff. He's in now, gives it air. Flintoff lunges forward, and it's Ponting who picks up at Silly Point. While it's all flamboyance and the batsman's in charge at one end, at this end, with Flintoff batting against Bourne, it's all anxiety and uncertainty. Which way will it turn? Will it go straight on? Flintoff doesn't look as though he knows. Bourne is in again. 3 men round the bat. He's there. He bowls to Flintoff. Flintoff comes forward, takes it on the pad. It bounces there to Katic at forward short leg. And there's no appeal this time for a catch. Ponting goes from Silly Point up to have a word with Bourne. Ponting always looks so ice calm. He's got his arms folded akimbo across his chest, talking to Bourne, absolutely still. They've had that conversation, and now Ponting jog-trots back to Silly Point. I'm sure when Don Bradman captained Australia, he was quite short. Ponting doesn't look very big. I'm sure there was something of the same calm authority about it. And it's Bourne once more to Flintoff. He's up to the wicket, he bowls, Flintoff lunges forward, Katic picks up at forward short leg, and nothing is done. Do you know when I would say something like the Bradman-like about
a very
Ponting?
similar build for a start. I just can't see the Don jogging too many places. He would have walked quickly with authority rather than jog, but the point is taken. With
measured tread, I think, with the Don, and Bourne bowls again. Flintoff opens his shoulders and crashes this away to mid-wicket. That was out of the middle of the bat. It's 6 runs. Umpire Bowden almost takes off while signalling, and Flintoff goes to 23. Well, he hit that one all right. It was thrown up in the air. He lunged into it and hit it beautifully.
It's almost if, when in doubt which way it's spinning, hit it for 6. That was a much better shot than the 6 in the previous over.
Wasn't it? 227 for 4, 23 to Flintoff. Bourne again in, bowls now to Flintoff. Flintoff forward and pushes this one away on the offside. Ponting does 6 out of left hand, manages to knock the ball across the pitch to Katic, and nothing is done. Flintoff goes down the pitch, gives it a prod. This is really exciting, tense, nail-biting cricket, and what fun it is to be here watching it, goodness me. And it's Bourne. He throws himself. Bourne tortures the batsman. He's a torturer as he comes into bowl. He's up to the wicket now. He bowls, and Flintoff goes back. Plays this down off the back foot to mid-off. Kasparovich is the fielder there, and there's no run. A fascinating over. Another fascinating over. 227 for 4 at the end of it. 23 to Flintoff, and 24 to Peterson. And after another word from Henry Lawson on my left, it will be time for Aggers.
Thank you, Henry. Well, we're only 44 overs into the day's play, and it's 227 for 4. Scheduled 90 overs, and rain permitting. That makes it almost 8 for 450 at stumps, which would be an extraordinary day's cricket. And who would count against that happening with Flintoff and Peterson hitting some good shots and Bourne bowling well? It is Test cricket at a completely different level when the run scoring's this rate. We've still got some wickets falling. if you can't watch this and enjoy it, Aggers, you don't like the game.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, these two batsmen together, particularly, we could be in for anything here. In goes Gillespie, and he bowls, and Peterson patiently this time allows that to pass by outside the off stump, and that's really where Gillespie has to bowl now. A very tight channel just outside the off stump on a perfect length, otherwise these two will have him. Two slips standing there. Hayden is in the gully. There's a third man, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and a man down at long leg with the scoreboard behind him. 227 for 4. We've only had 44 overs. So England racing along at 5 and over. They've been put into bat, but they have now lost 4 wickets. And in goes Gillespie. He's there, he bowls to Peterson. It's short, he slashes that away for 4. It's one-day stuff today, it really is. And that wasn't a terribly bad ball, it was just a little bit short, just a little bit wide.
And a little bit bruised. Oh, it's really a trademark Peterson shot off the front foot. That's he likes to play that cut. He only needs a fraction of width, and he can hit that hard square of the wicket on the offside. He's got terrific bat speed. You just can't afford to bowl that lucid delivery to him, and it wasn't particularly poor.
Peterson to 28, 231 for 4. Gillespie's there again, he bowls Peterson this time, stretches a long left leg down the pitch, raises the bat high, and the ball is taken by Gilchrist. Peterson, of course, who was awarded a central contract yesterday by England.
Oh, how kind of them.
Means he'll be
yesterday. Well, about lunchtime on Saturday, the Lord's Test, they should have given him a contract.
Well, you've got to think about these things. You don't hand them out willy-nilly, you know.
Rush into it.
He settles down again, and Gillespie sweeps back that mane that he has now. Jet black hair. And the crowd falls silent. He's there. He bowls to Peterson, who tries to repeat the earlier stroke, but rather mistimes it. He'll get a single as the ball runs away to extra cover. Langer fields. He's got very dirty trousers, Lang. He's been diving around today. And Peterson goes to 29, 232 for 4. And throughout this summer, we've wondered what it'd be like to watch Peterson and Flintoff hit it off together. And well, there's a chance this afternoon that we might see it. Again together at 187 for 4. Now 232 for 4. Flintoff checks his guard from Rudy Kurtzen. Marks it out there with the stud at the front of his right boot. Looks around the field. There's no change to it from Peterson's. They're both very similar players after all. And Flintoff now settles down again. Gillespie makes him wait for a moment. And now he's on his way, bounding in, he's there, he bowls, Flintoff comes shuffling forward, plays a good ball on the off stump back to the bowler. And there's no runner. When I see Flintoff down that end, Henry, I instinctively find myself looking away to my right, over there, which is where he hit. Who was it last year that he hit into the crowd there, Bill? And his father dropped it way back in the stand over long on. It was what unfortunate West Indian did a massive hit. If Mike Selby remembers who it was, it went a long way. 232 for 4. In goes Gillespie. It's short and swung away in that direction, in fact. He won't go for 6, but it bounces twice before going over the boundary edging there at, well, deep straight mid-wicket, really. You can't bowl there, Dizzy, I'm sorry, not on this pitch. And
there's not too many places you can bowl, I don't think, at the moment.
These two have now put on 49 in 32 minutes. Thank you, Bill. And there should be some, well, there's some wonderful entertainment here, I think, now.
The producer, with all his encyclopedic knowledge, has just let us know who that bowler was who got hit 400 rows back. And I'll let you fill in the listeners while Mike Selby moves in.
Poor old Omari Banks, was it? It was a big hit. He was the off-spinner, of course, for the West Indies. Well, he's not here today. Instead, Shane Warne is bowling the spin. And well, the field is slowly spreading out. There's a deep mid-wicket. Mid-on has gone back. A deep backward square leg. Point has gone back. Mid-off's quite deep as well. There are two men catching around the bat. As Warne comes pacing in and bowls to Peterson. No, catch it, they shout, but I don't think there was anything near that. And Katic, who's got his sunglasses on there behind his helmet, Robocop style, has his arms folded, looking calm enough.
And that was Warne's third ball to Peterson in this spell.
Well, here comes the fourth. And what's Peterson going to do? Well, he flicks that away to deep mid-wicket. There's an easy single there because there's no one actually saving one run in the leg side. And the 50 partnership comes up. Put it off exactly 50 balls, Bill. And the pair shake hands. And I'm sure they've both said that's just the start. 50 from 50 balls is that partnership.
34 minutes.
237 for 4 on this remarkable opening day. England were put into bat, and they've scored runs at 5 and over today. And in comes Bourne, and Flintoff turns that away. May have come off the pad, we'll see. But they take a run of some description. And Willie Bowden rubs his thigh there.
First league by.
What of the day? Was it? Good lord. Well, it was very seductively signalled too by Billy Bowden, stroking his thigh. Well, a suggestive manner towards the scorer. I think it's a male scorer here today. Is it that confirmed, Phil?
Both male.
238 for 4. In comes Bourne. And, one that perhaps kept a little bit low. But Peterson plays it towards deep mid-on, so they get one run. Was it the elusive flipper? I don't know. I've been looking for this in the last couple of days, Mike.
I reckon it might have been that, you know.
Oh,
I think it was. It was on him, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly came through more quickly.
He hasn't bowled that hardly, if at all, in this series previously.
Here's Bourne, and what's Flintoff going to do? Well, he swings and misses. The ball goes down the leg side. It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? All these cosy, friendly barbecues that these two have been having down at in Hampshire this summer. That actually Shane has kept something up his sleeve throughout, and all these nice cans of lager he's passed to Kevin Peterson with a smile. In comes Bourne, and Flintoff turns that away. There'll be one run there out to deep mid-wicket. 240 for 4. Shane's really been thinking, just wait till I get you in the test match, mate, because you ain't seen it all yet.
Well, see that now. There's the dichotomy for him, isn't it? You know, he's captain of Hampshire. He's a couple of times this season, sides have batted out the last day against him, and you just know that he wouldn't hold back. It's not in his nature to be competitive, and yet you wonder how he's going to do that without showing all the toys, you know. Remember when he first appeared in this country, and we went to Worcester maybe to watch him at Worcester, and Graham Hick got a big 100 and panned him all around, and everybody said, "Oh, we've heard about this bloke, but he's not all he's cracked up to be." And of course, he just kept him away, hadn't he?
Yep.
And then came the ball of the century, and on he went.
And of course, he will only have bowled at Peterson in the net, so there you could just literally toss up a few little half volleys, couldn't he? Make him feel good. There's a change here. Brett Lee is coming back. We haven't seen him since before lunch. It was an interesting spell too. He bowled 7 overs in all this morning. 8 boundaries came from it. Well, 8 fours and a 6, in fact. So 7 overs for 43. And he's going to come back and bowl from the pavilion end. There's no Glenn McGrath today, of course. If you're just joining us for the first time, he has damaged ankle ligaments treading on a ball during warm-ups this morning. So he's out of this game, and I think there's a lot of conjecture about whether or not he will play in the next match. I think it's unlikely. It's only 3 days after this one. So it's Lee on 240 for 4. He runs in and bowls to Flintoff. That's outside the off stump, short of a length, but Flintoff comes forward to it, nonetheless standing up tall, driving up to extra cover where Langer fields. And this could be a very interesting passage of play with Lee, the fiery fast bowler, and two of the finest and biggest hitters in international cricket at the moment.
It's an extraordinary game, isn't it, at the moment? I'm sure I used to write match reports after the first day where I'd been describing 240 for 4 at the close as a good day's cricket, you know.
Absolutely. In goes Lee, and Flintoff drives again, a little bit fuller this time. The ball runs up to mid-off, and there's no run. It must be the influence of one-day cricket, is it? I mean, you assume that it is, that the batsmen simply are used to scoring runs at a faster pace.
Well, I think it's more than that, isn't it? I think they've discovered what they can do, what they're capable of, you know. I mean, you remember out of the blue, you remember, who could forget Nathan Astle's wonderful innings, and you know, that was strictly a bloke who thought, hang on a minute, Test cricket, doesn't matter, it's there, I'll back it.
Yeah. Lee, fair head, runs in and bowls. No, that very nearly bowls Flintoff. He got away with that. An inside edge is run past the leg stump, and he'll pick up one run. Kasovich throws the ball back from fine leg, but he was lucky there. He goes to 29, and England to 241 for 4. Tea is about half an hour or so away, and during that, hopefully, I'll be chatting to Martin Johnson, the former Leicester Tigers and England World Cup winner, of course.
Be very, very careful what you say then.
Oh, I know. I'm
Not
Leicester.
not a little man.
We're Leicester lads, you know. 241 for 4. In goes Lee, and that's punched off the back foot by Peterson. Lee throws the ball back to Gilchrist, and there's no run. No, I'm slightly worried. How's he going to fit into one of these seats, frankly? Enormous man. He's just sitting out here on the committee balcony today, and we'll send Shilper out, I think, to go and lure him in here.
Bucket of ice after you've shaken hands too, I think, might be.
Yeah, I think I might avoid that. She's a good lurer, Shilper. She's lured the best of them. 241 for 4. In goes Lee, and that's driven up to mid-off by Peterson. No run for him there. It's Martin who fields. 31 to Peterson, 29 to Flintoff, and this full house at Edgbaston has been royally entertained today. Lee looks thoughtful as he wanders back to his mark. There are a couple of slips there, 3 in the offside. There's also a man out. I hadn't spotted him on the deep point boundary. When there's another indication of this one-day game that we've been enjoying today. Very unusual to see that from the second session of a test match. This is short and flicked away by Peterson. He's got extraordinary hands, this man. Rubberized almost, his wrists, and he can just flick the ball somehow from outside the off stump. Not so like Viv Richards, who worked it with a punch, but this is a real right hand over left flick.
It's a slightly more cumbersome azza, isn't it?
Yes, it's a sort of stroke that you might associate with an Indian batsman.
Yeah, it's almost a top spin roll, if you like. The one which he put past mid-wicket off Jason Gillespie was astounding, because it was a perfectly respectable ball that demanded respect and got none. No, and still that 6 that he hit at the Oval in the one-day match is fresh in my mind. A remarkable tennis smash that he came down the pitch again. I think it was poor old Gillespie, wasn't it? He got whiplash that time. It soared over long on. Again, a stroke he had no right to play. I'm not entirely sure what we should call it either. It was something entirely new. 242 for 4. He's facing Bourne now, and he bowls to him, and Peterson is forward, playing this back to the bowler. And there's no run. 242 for 4. Everyone's loosening up out there. I don't know if they really mean it or not. The mid-on fielder there, as he rotating his arms. And Hayden was swinging his arms around. Show a bit of willing, can't you, with the knowledge that you're not going to get called on.
I think in Hayden's case, certainly. There's Bourne. Short outside the off stump, and he tries to force that away. And again, it kept through a little bit lower, a little bit quicker, I think, than Peterson thought it was going to. It's one of those shots that, okay, if you hit it, you might get a run. But actually, there are so many ways that ball could get you out. You could be caught behind, you could drag it into your stumps. You wonder whether it's actually worth playing it in the end. 242 for 4. Bourne comes up again and bowls to Peterson. He'll defend that. He does, simply pushing it towards mid-off. Bourne intercepts it. Peterson smiles this time. He wasn't smiling a moment ago when that last ball went fizzing past his outside edge.
He does very theatrical expressions, doesn't he, Kevin Peterson? He's well into it, him and his mate at the other end.
Bourne floats us right up, and it's clipped away by Peterson from leg stump to wide mid-on. 1 run taken. It's Clark out there. There's Clark who's loosening up a minute or so ago. I wonder if he might have a go with his left arm wrist spinners. I don't know. It's unlikely.
Birmingham's not big enough, is it?
Interesting against these two. 243 for 4. Up comes Bourne, and he bowls that with a real howl, and again, Flintoff seemed to get his feet slightly in the way. He got them out of the way. It's rather like a clumsy partner in Come Dancing. Is Andrew Flintoff against Shane Warne. He'll be stamping on a few toes, I think, with a ballroom partner. But he gets the bat there more or less in time. It's rather a tiring business, I think, for the big fellow. In comes Warne, and that's an extraordinary shot, thumping that through mid-wicket. I'm not sure if he was aiming it for there or not. Warne again looks mortified. Flintoff picks up 1. He'll keep the strike on 2.44 for 4. Warren's still standing there with his hands on his hips, and I'm not sure where Flintoff was trying to hit that, but he's now on 33. Peterson has 30. And every time someone plays a shot against Bourne and doesn't like it, he takes it as an absolute personal insult, doesn't he?
He certainly does, especially as I think he feels, and he's doing very little to disprove this, that Freddie hasn't actually got a clue what's happening, you see.
Yeah, I think probably that's a fair comment. Well, it's entertaining. And Flintoff has kept strike, he's checking his guard. The fielders run into position, and they're going to have a deep square leg. This is for Brett Lee, of course, one of the fastest bowlers in the world. Clark comes in from deep point. 2 slips and a gully. So it's Lee to bowl to Flintoff, who's on 30. He goes Lee, he's there, he bowls to him outside the off stump, is pushed away by Flintoff, he's beaten the offside field. Clark's after it. They'll get 2. As Clark there returns the ball to Lee. Again, no real power behind that, but just well timed. Flintoff moves to 32. These two came together at 187 for 4. England have lost Strauss for 48, Trescothick for 90, Bell for 6, and Vaughan for 24. They lost 2 wickets in 4 balls. In goes Lee, and he bowls it short, swung away by Flintoff, down to long leg, it's in the air, he's going to be caught, I reckon. Kastrovic can't quite get there. And they'll come back for a second as Kastrovic there, as he dived full length, deflected the ball into a big gap out there. That wasn't a clever shot. It really wasn't. He got away with that. Maybe Kastrovic saw it a little bit late, but it cramped Flintoff. It wasn't a good stroke. And well, Kastrovic, he did all but get there, and the ball landed about a foot or so in front of him. But Flintoff really shouldn't be falling for that trap.
Yeah, but he's only got 1 more over after this one, so
there's 50 over a side match. It's being played like it, isn't it? He's 34 not out. In goes Lee. He's there, bowls another bouncer. Oh, it's gone for 6. An amazing shot. He took his eye off that. It was a short arm jab from off stump, and it startled a steward out there. He had no right to expect that would come whistling over his head. It was a remarkable shot. He wasn't looking at the ball when he hit that, but it went like an exocet over deep square leg and into the crowd who are miles away down there, and away for 6.
Well, I've seen it all now. I mean, he was pulling out of that shot, wasn't he?
I think he was. Lee's scratching his head, he can't believe it either. Ponting's chewing his nails. 2.54 for 4, and Flintoff's now on 40. In goes Lee, he bowls to him and he drives into the offside, and well, a bit of normality restored there as Clark fields at backward point. Well,
I mean, he really was stopping his shot.
This is the second session of the first day of a test match, the side having been put into bat. Amazing shot, and looking at the super slow-mo, I'm not sure what he was doing there. He certainly had his eyes closed at the fatal moment.
Came out in the middle though, didn't it?
254 for 4. Lee's on his way, he's there, he bowls, and Flintoff, without moving his feet at all, drives into the offside. And it's Langer who fields there. You enjoying
it? Or to rename his bat Harry Potter.
We need a fire bucket for Bill's pencil there, don't we?
Well,
ball's going around like a fruit machine.
I don't know if it'll win England a test match or not, but it's everybody here.
We're winning friends, won't it?
Had a great day. 254 for 4. Flintoff's on 40. Peterson on 33. Lee turns, runs in past the umpire, he's there, he bowls, Flintoff drives into the offside. Clark again is there, he shies and hits the stumps as Flintoff makes his ground, I think, safely at this end. Rudy Kirton's going to call for a replay, but there's no great celebration out there from amongst the Australians. I think Flintoff also feels at his home. It was a good piece of fielding from Clark, who's very quick out there. Moving to his right, he's left-handed, he picked up through, and I think just for decency's sake they'll check the replay, so we're pretty sure that he's going to be in here. He is going to be in. So he actually slid in there on his knees, which is quite an unusual way of making your ground. But Flintoff comfortably home. And so he'll go to 41. Again, he's kept the strike. 254 for 4. There's a long debate down there. There's the chair just to confirm that he's not out. Couldn't possibly spoil the fun. 255 for 4 it is. And a discussion down there between Bourne and Ponting gives me a chance to bring in Jim Maxwell for the last 20 minutes before tea, after more thoughts from Mike Selby.
Well, he's a 6 with his eyes shut at one end. He's been batting pretty much with his eyes shut totally against Shane Warne at this other end, but he's survived. He's lived on his wits. Andy Flintoff, to an extent, he could have been out off the his first scoring shot over, just cleared mid-off. But he's in now, and well, great entertainment. It's I'm sure it's a great advertisement for Test cricket. It's a great advertisement for cricket.
Well, the sequence seems to be dot, 4, 6, maybe wicket. The occasional 1 or 2, but 4s and 6s flying everywhere. This is kind of backyard cricket at its best. The boundary is just over the neighbour's fence.
Nobody runs anymore. What happened to the nudge and the nurdle? Where's Graham Thorpe when we need him? Eh? Calm it down.
What entertainment for a full house here at Edgbaston. What have we had? 5 6s hit today, Bill? And Flintoff has made 41.
37 4s and 5 6s, and an overthrown 4 as well.
Right. So 3/4 of the runs in boundary hits, and 5 that have gone over the boundary. Well, there's a deep backward square and a deep mid-wicket. Don't think it'll stop Flintoff as Warne bowls, and he's swinging into this and dragging it around the corner off the bottom of the bat. Didn't catch that flush, and he gets a single to backward square. 4 for 256. The 124 have come in this session 20 minutes before tea on the first day, and England didn't win the toss and bat. They were sent in to bat. And at lunch, it was 1 for 132 to Scothic, who then made 77 from 89 balls. The game has been careering along here. Warne bowls now, and Peterson swings into this and laps it around the corner towards backward square. A good save out there by Lee, hunting along the line to grab it and hurling it high in the direction of Gilchrist, who took it overhead. 4 for 257. 34 for Peterson, 42 for Flintoff. Partnership worth 70. Who's going to get who here? Warne's trying to work over his man. Flintoff is lunging, and then wallop, hitting it somewhere away to the boundary or beyond it. Warne bowls to him now, and Flintoff comes forward. He's beaten by a good ball. That was quicker, and it turned as he plunged down the line, and it just missed the edge of the bat. This is great to watch. It really is.
It's unusual for Shane Warne. He's having to go shopping for his wickets, isn't he? Doesn't normally have to buy them, but he's that turn lured him forward.
There's a bit there. You wonder how it'll go later in the game. Warne bowls on Flintoff, driving this hard down towards mid-on. He belted that, but he didn't get a run because Clark was there to stop it. It's the classic spinners in outfield, a slip and a short leg and a short cover. Mid-off is back, so's the man at point. There's a backward point. Mid-on's going back a little further with each ball. Warne bowls now, and Flintoff swings in the air, down the ground, straight towards the boundary. It goes for another 4. 6! It's gone for 6! How did that go for 6? He just bunted that over the top, and it's cleared the rope down at long off. The 6th 6 of the day. 4 for 263. This is extraordinary cricket.
Actually, it's the sort of cricket that Adam Gilchrist himself plays, isn't it? You've seen it time after time, I guess.
He's pretty well struck. Warne bowls again. Flintoff on the back foot, hits the ball hard on the bounce down to Clark at mid-on. Hits it too well to get a run. Peterson sent Flintoff back. And Flintoff at the moment, well, it's a bit like a game of baseball. He keeps hitting these home runs. It's 4 for 263. Flintoff is 48. And how many balls has he faced, Bill, to get to 48?
He's faced 44. Peterson's got 34 or 45.
And that was the 50th over, and they finished with 4 for 263.
You'd have bought that a couple of weeks ago, wouldn't you?
You would.
winning side. It keeps repeating it. This is a remarkable day's cricket thus far. It's a full day's cricket in half a day.
Well, if they can keep their heads here and select the ball to hit as they've done fairly well to date, really the only miscue from Flintoff was the first scoring stroke. It just cleared Kasparovich, and maybe the one at backward square. The hook.
And he's living on his wits, isn't he, against Shane Warne? But he's found a way of combating him thus far, and anything there, at least he's got the courage of his convictions to go after it. He knows he's a powerful man, and a half hit will still clear the boundaries. They're short, straight boundaries anyway on this ground, so it's less of a risk as well.
So Ponting's had a chat with Lee, who starts another over. He runs in at Peterson, and Peterson is forward, and with the bottom hand working hard, he sends the ball humming towards Gillespie down at mid-on. So Trescothick out for 90 after Strauss was bowled by Warne for 48. Trescothick taken by Gilchrist from Kasparovich, and then Bell almost straight away. 2-4 out. Caught Gilchrist bowled Kasparovich for 6. That was 3 for 170, which became 4 for 187 when Lee held on to a skyer that went through the sky, almost went into orbit before it came down, and he held it off a top edge at long leg. In goes Lee, bowls to Peterson, who whips it away to the onside, taking it out to that man in front of the mid-wicket boundary. Langer, they get a single. 4 for 264. Peterson moves to 35. So Bourne out for 24. Caught Lee bowled Gillespie when he appeared to be set. So from the fall of that wicket, we've had 77 runs added. Partnership dominated by Flintoff, who's down there to face Lee again. Will he get the invitation from another short ball? Lee charges up to bowl. Flintoff goes back and hits the ball in the air just in front of the man at mid-off. He came so slowly off the pitch, and he was through the ball, and he cocked it up on the offside in front of Martin running in from mid-off, and it landed about 5 yards in front of him.
Well, the force is with him, I think we can say that. And that came off so sluggishly in toe of the bat. That group of fielders on the offside, it still eluded them. I think you've just got to grin and bear it, as Brett Lee did there.
Every ball is loaded here. Loaded. Something's going to burst. Lee bowls now. Forward comes Flintoff, right over it on the smelling salt stroke. Straight to cover. Knocked it away. Disciplining himself there. Keep the concentration going. I think that's what his mind may be churning with at the moment. And there's a bit of byplay between Justin Langer and one of the young lads who plays ball boy out in the deep. Has the crowd jumping and laughing out there at deep square, where a couple of big hits have disappeared. 4 for 264. Here's Lee from the pavilion end. He runs in and bowls a short ball. It's hammered away to the boundary. Out behind square. No, brilliantly cut off by Langer. Great save. The crowd are enjoying the action there. That was hit hard and going to his right, sticking out the semi-telescopic hand. He was able to haul in that firmly struck stroke. Only 1 run resulted.
Yeah, that was a good piece of fielding, you know. That doesn't half help the bowler along too when you see somebody. That's a brilliant piece of fielding. Off the ground, one-handed.
He had 4 written all over it, but he hurled himself to his right, just in front of square on the line, and they took just 1. Now it's Lee versus Peterson. It's like a boxing contest. He runs in, and Peterson is back. He's taken on the pad, maybe nicked a pad, and then it ricocheted away to Ponting, who took it on the bounce at second slip. So at the end of the over, the 10th bowled by Lee, 10 overs, 1 maiden, none for 58. Just give you these bowling figures because they've been going at 5 and over. Gillespie, 15 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 64. Kasparovich, 11 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 63. And Warne, 15 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 79.
I think there's a serious point to be made about this, and that is that Ricky Ponting, and probably Shane Warne as well, need to get hold of the bowlers and just say, look, don't get caught up in this frenetic atmosphere out here, because it's so easy to get sucked into that. It's happened to England in the past. You get drawn into the whole lack of rhythm to the day, you know, and you've got to try and slow it down. You've got to make the batsman wait. Just bring some measure of control back to what you're doing.
Warne's trying to do that by offering something that the batsman may misjudge. He's now got Kasparovich back on the line at long off. He bowls to Flintoff. Flintoff goes back, changes his stroke and hits it hard for 4 through the covers. And that is a half century to remember. He has thumped the bowling and he's getting an embrace from Peterson. Flintoff, 53 not out at 4 for 269.
48 balls, 4 sixes, 4 fours, 59 minutes.
Scintillating batting. And everyone was up again. Been roaring away all day. Warne goes in. Flintoff leans forward. Edges just past a diving Hayden. It wasn't past him on the full. And they're getting a run. Only a run down towards third man as Gillespie repairs back together. And it's 4 for 270. Flintoff on 54. Well, he kept it down. He was searching for it. He's played with some indecision, you'd have to say, against Bourne, but he's picked the right one to hit.
If it's there to hit, he's confident enough to go for it when he sees it. He's not being phased. They're not being phased by it, and you know there'll be a lot going on out there, weren't there, around him, trying to distract him.
Now for Peterson, mid-off comes up. There's still 2 men deep on the onside, behind square and at deep mid-wicket. Warner's bowling and he's driving inside out, hard to the cover boundary. Great stroke from Peterson as he reached out. That reminded me of VVS Laxman at Calcutta. Foot down and then opening inside out to drive the ball along the ground between Ponting at short cover and Kasparovich at mid-off.
That's a very good description, you know, isn't it? And that's a very, very good player to be able to do that, to actually go inside out and hit through the offside like that.
Peterson 39, another boundary. Warne goes in again. Peterson swings at this and misses it. Took the pad and collected by Gilchrist behind the stumps. 4 for 274. This amazing day of Test cricket. It was just so manic, tumultuous at Lord's, and now England had every opportunity with these two trying to smoke the ball to the boundary. Warne goes up again and Peterson is driving, and he didn't get hold of that as he wanted. He was going inside out again, but he bumped it down the pitch to Warne, who knocked it to the turf in his follow through. But Warne's being a little stretched by all this. I'm sure he's got the confidence to win the argument, but Peterson's got plenty of confidence too. Warne bowls. Forward he goes, edging just in front of Hayden at slip, who dived to his right. Didn't quite carry as he pushed down the line. It took an edge, and Hayden almost got his hand under it, diving away and forward to his right. 4 for 274. Every ball has something hanging on it here. 39 to Peterson, 54 to Flintoff, and Warne 16 overs with a maiden, 9 from that over, 1 for 88.
That's a clattering by his standards, isn't it? VVS is one of the few players to really be able to play Warne, and that had to be the key to it, isn't it? That he can play him leg side. I remember Shane Warne saying, you know, that there's only so many times I thought somebody could hit me out of the rough through the onside. But of course, then he has that alternative, so it's very difficult to set a field to that.
Lee starts another over, and he bowls a short ball. It's hit in the air, out to the boundary, and over the boundary for 6. Another 6 to Flintoff. He hit that in front of square, and he hit it cleanly. And the ball boy alongside Langer were looking into the crowd. A crowd catch. 4 for 280. Flintoff is 60.
Well, that's a better shot. He had his eyes open there too, which is a bonus. He's got a piece of wood there, hasn't he?
Oh. Tiger Woods, he's hitting at 400 off the tee. Lee bowls now, and he's forward, and he's getting an edge down to the boundary this time. Wide of second slip. 4 more. He's 64. 4 for 284. This is wonderful to watch. And the game is just flying along here. If they're still there at stumps, it'll be 500. The 100 partnership will come very quickly. This is the 53rd over of the day, and the score is 284. 152 added in this session. Lee's just gone 6-4. And how do you set a field to someone who's hitting the ball like this? You just got to hope he makes a mistake.
Well, one thing you can do is to set a loaded field, isn't it? And just say to him, look, we can put a man back, a sweeper on the offside there. We can bowl it wide of off stump and just hit him through one side of the field only. That's a starting point.
Lee tries again. Flintoff comes forward, pushes the ball away into the offside, and it's fielded by Clark at point. It was just on Laxman without detracting at all from what's happening here, but I can remember Bourne bowling around the wicket to Laxman, and he went down, opened up his front leg and hit him wide of mid-on for 4. The next ball, Warne adjusted a little bit and he went the other way and hit him wide of cover, like Peterson did a moment ago for 4.
Similarly, good hands, haven't they? You know, the hand-eye coordination, but also you have to have the good hands as well. He's got a good top hand, but he's got a brilliant bottom hand as well that works really hard.
Here comes Lee. He bowls, and Flintoff is forward and playing quietly away on the offside. A dot ball. So this is a pattern that's continuing in this partnership of 4 ... 6 ... 4 ... 6.
It's like dice cricket, isn't it?
Have you ever seen an opening day Test cricket where a team has been pushing 300, a team?
Well, how would you like to edit the highlights on this?
Here comes Lee to bowl. Flintoff is forward and driving well, and well saved out there by Clark. They could have had one if they'd gone straight away. They didn't. Had a look and thought, no, well, what's the point? We'll get 4 in a moment, as well as Clark dived to save that at cover. And the fielding on the ground has been very good. Probably the only blemish today was Warne putting Strauss down when he was 4 from the bowling of Gillespie. Went low to his left at slip. He got his hand under it, but couldn't hold it. And there was another one from a no ball caught by Hayden when Trescothick was 32. In goes Lee. Forward comes Flintoff and hits the ball firmly behind point for 4. Just opening the face of his bat, and Hayden diving at backward point, couldn't stop it. 4 more. 14 runs from the over, and that is the end of the over. And the 100 partnership has come up with that boundary, and a very rapid 100 partnership. Flintoff is 68 and Peterson 39, and Lee 11 overs, 1 maiden, none for 72. 14 from the over.
100 partnership in no time. I mean, they're going to end up near enough a run of ball at the end of the day if they carry on like this, aren't they?
Well, they're going to be 450 if they keep up this momentum.
Yeah. 96 balls for that. It's,
the 100 partnership, 96 balls, 67 minutes.
And this should be the last over before tea.
There have been 5 6s and 11 4s in it.
5 6s, 11 4s. That's 74 on the 100. Peterson and Flintoff just having a chat, probably reminding each other that this is the last over before tea.
Well, the last over before lunch went for 18, so...
Well, it's Warne to bowl and Peterson to sweep from the line of the stumps, and it goes down towards Lee, who stops it inside the line and hurls the ball towards the bowler's end, and is backed up by Ponting there. He just thought, well, the batsmen are loitering, I'll try something here. But Peterson made his ground comfortably enough in the end. 4 for 289. Peterson, the junior partner here, really, because Flintoff, in between blocking a few, has smashed a lot. And now he'll be facing Warne, he's doing his old little tricks here, moving the field around, just trying to sow something in the batsman's mind, as I think he did just before he dismissed Strauss.
I mean, that was a cerebral piece of cricket. It was a joy to watch that. Watch a craftsman at work, just getting into the psyche of the batsman, getting under his skin. I expect they'll be out there reminding, don't get out before tea. William, make sure you don't do that, Freddie. There's tea coming up, They'll be reminding him that.
Look at this. More manoeuvring in the field. More trying to just sow a doubt in the batsman's mind about what's happening here in the last over before tea, because Flintoff has played an extraordinary innings here. He's been biffing them all over the place, in between plunging down the line and kicking them away and blocking the odd delivery. And Warne's going around the wicket to him now. He's brought the mid-wicket in. He bowls to him, and Flintoff swings away at an over-pitch ball, drags it to short fine leg where Ponting is fielding, and they can't score. So 157 runs added in this session. You don't want to miss a ball of this. This is the most extraordinary cricket. If you thought Botham was extraordinary in 1981, you should be watching or listening to this for the rest of the day, if he keeps this innings going. Tremendous calculated assault. Warne bowls. Forward he comes. He says, nah, not there. Outside the leg stump. I'll kick that away. And there are 3 balls to come. Oh, still a chance for another biff over the boundary here before we finish.
Well, let's see if he throws one up in the air. We might just think, well, it's well worth it, because I don't think that if it goes up, Fred's in the mood to think, oh, hang on a minute, the tea bag's just stewing in there. I'll be in there in a second.
So the chat goes on, and on TMS during the lunch break, English captain, World Cup captain Martin Johnson will be joining Jonathan Agnew for a chat. If you'd like to stick around for that, just to change the speed a bit. And Warne's trying to change the momentum of the game here with these manoeuvrings in the field.
Absolutely the right thing to do, though, isn't it? You're saying you've got to take time out to just settle down, let things settle. Don't get caught up in the whole frenetic atmosphere. The crowd are getting involved in it. Everything's getting involved in it. All behind England here.
And Warne again shifts the field. Gillespie, he moves him half an inch to his right at short fine leg. And now around the wicket, he comes up to bowl to Flintoff on 68, and Flintoff goes forward and kicks the ball away. He probably decided that if he's going to bowl out there, well, just leave them alone, at least for now. I'm never too sure what he's going to do. There's something instinctive about a lot of Flintoff's play. So often he's looked indecisive against Bourne, yet he's still smacked him for a lot of sixes. Warne goes in again and bowls to him, and he's coming forward, and it goes off the pad, out on the offside, just behind point. And there'll be one more ball to end the session. England sent in, lost Strauss, bowled Warne for 48, and then Trescothick caught Gilchrist, bowled Kasparovich for 90. Bell caught Gilchrist, bowled Kasparovich for 6, and Vaughan caught by Lee on the top edge, took off Gillespie for 24. It's Warne. He bowls now, and Flintoff leans forward and pats the ball away. And the game ends a little bit quietly for the session, but Flintoff has played supremely here. He's taken the Australians on, and Peterson shows his appreciation by grasping Flintoff's hand, gives it a good shake there, because he knows that this partnership has given England a chance of building a very powerful score. They're 4 for 289. Peterson is 40. And here's the applause for Andrew Flintoff, who leads the 2 batsmen off the field. He is 68 not out. And the bowling figures: Warne 17 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 89. Kasparovich 11 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 63. Gillespie 15 overs, 2 maidens, 2 for 64. And Lee 11 overs, 1 maiden, none for 72. Well, Mike Selby, how do you sum all that up?
It feels like my life's flashing past me. It's been a remarkable first session, and an even more remarkable second session. At one time, it looked as if England had chucked it away, doesn't it? A good position, They were at 164 for 1, and going really well. Michael Vaughan batting like a dream. Then suddenly Trescothick gets out. Vaughan follows him. Ian Bell, and suddenly England looked in trouble. And then these two have come together and just taken the game away again from Australia with quite remarkable display. But I mean, Kevin Peterson, by comparison to Andrew Flintoff, has been a model of restraint, hasn't he? And he's rattling along still. But Fred, well, he doesn't look as if he's had much idea against Shane Warne. But he's found a way of playing him. When it's been there to hit, he's hit it. He's stayed it. When he's not been watching the ball, he's hit it for six. I mean, that pull for six off Gillespie was just was it Gillespie or Lee? I've forgotten. Lee. It was just remarkable. He was pulling out of the shot. It's a long time since we've seen hitting like this. I wouldn't say batsmanship like this, but hitting like this. And well, this is a full day's play, in half a day.
More to come. They've bowled 54 of a potential 90 overs, so at the current rate of scoring, 5 and over, the total will be 470 at the end of the day's play. It may not be that, but you'll want to be listening when we come back after the tea break.